Well, hello and a warm welcome back to another wet week on my allotment. The weather continues in its vein of rain. Everything is waterlogged. I was hoping to do a bit more work on the ditch, but the weather just isn't helping. I have done a little bit around the back. Where the ditch goes, I'm now going to start calling it Offa's Dyke, because essentially when they dug Offa's Dyke all those hundreds of years ago, they took out the soil from a ditch and they piled it on the home bank and they made a wall, and that's what I'm going to do out the back. But I'm not sure I'll be doing any of that today. I'm not really doing much on the plot. You may be able to see just there I've had another delivery of Christmas tree wood. I had a phone call from the garden centre this week and said, Martin, if you want it, there's another load. They've had a second delivery of Christmas trees. They're selling them as quick as they can. So I went and grabbed it. It's lovely wood. But other than that, I'm not sure I'll be doing a great deal on the plot. We have a couple of viewings on the house today, so Cheryl's coming up for a coffee to stay out the way, which will be nice. But it is pretty miserable. It always is at this time of the year, you know, it's acceptable. So you're very welcome to the plot. I won't be doing a great deal, but whatever happens, it's nice to have you with me. Well, it hasn't stopped raining, but it's certainly lessened somewhat. In fact, there's a hint of blue sky up there. So, nowhere near as bad as last weekend, but you can see the water is pooling. And I've dug out this ditch a little deeper. And the soil I took out of the ditch, I've just piled it up there. I actually used my hands to sort of pat it down and shape it. It's got quite a high clay content, so I'm hoping that that wall, as small and insignificant as it is, will hold back the water. Time will tell. I haven't completed it, you can see, but it's a start, and you know, all this stuff is very inconvenient. You've got to watch your footing when you're around here, and of course it's a ditch that I don't need all through about 8 months of the year, but on the significant moments that it is needed, it makes a hell of a difference. Even last weekend when it was breached, if I hadn't had it, I hate to think what the plot would have looked like. So anyway, that's what I've done this week, and I shall continue that as and when the conditions are dry and that ditch is dry as well. Well, let's mix it up a bit. Let's start at this end. So on the plot at the moment, first week of December, I am harvesting kale, Brussels sprouts, beetroot, swede and leeks. Haven't had any parsnips yet, but I have got a few, and I'm saving those for Christmas. So that bed there is the only one outstanding that needs to be dug over and weeded, but it'll wait till I've harvested the leeks. We do like a leek and potato soup. So I had a couple of hours in the week after work, and I just dug out the little ditches, irrigation ditches I've got running around some of the beds, just to make sure the water flows when it needs to. The significant job I did in the week was I moved that Harris fencing from this plot, which had peas growing in it, to there, and then I've dug over and weeded the bed that had the peas in. So the peas, the bit of green you can see on that bed, hopefully is going to just decompose down and put goodness back into the soil. But you can see how valuable these ditches are that run around the individual beds, and they all run away to somewhere. This one comes under here, around the edge of this bed to there, and then goes under the path into the ditch and runs away. So they all have, the water has somewhere to go. You can see the compost heaps. They're about 3-4 years old. They are now officially falling apart. If I am still here in the spring, this lot is going to be dismantled, burnt and replaced. That's the leaf mould bay, and you can see there's bags of leaves waiting to go in. As they compress down, I put another bag in, and so the process goes on. I've got more leaves to come. It's all a bit of a mess along here. Not pleasing to my eye, but I can only do so much in this weather. They're working at the moment, but in the spring they'll have to be replaced. And this down here is just a working lumber yard. Not sure if I'll turn all that into firewood. It seems a waste of expensive wood. The pallets will definitely be firewood. Or could I make compost heaps from them? Oh, these are all questions. I don't currently have the answers. I shall mull over them. But that is the plot as we stand in the first week of December. Actually, the weather's dried up, I'm pleased to say. I've had a bit of a dilemma. I'm having second thoughts about turning all this wood into firewood. I'm thinking next spring, whether I'm on the allotment or in our new house and garden, wood's very expensive nowadays, and this timber, the pallets and this wood, would make fantastic compost bays. Save me hundreds, if not a couple of £1,000 to make, because what I intend to do is make the bays and then have a roof over it instead of individual lids. Anyway, I'm having second thoughts. But let's not talk about anything useful. Let's talk about some completely useless information. Ptolemy VII married his sister Cleopatra II, who was also his brother's widow. So his wife was not only his sister, but his sister-in-law. Yeah, I'd have to sit down and think long and hard about that to work that out. Einstein, Rachmaninoff, Darwin, H.G. Wells and Edgar Allan Poe all married their first cousins. Is that illegal nowadays? I know it runs risks if you have children of disabilities and deformities, but is that illegal? I don't know. When filling in forms, Agatha Christie always gave her occupation as married woman. Well, that is an occupation, isn't it? Someone's got to look after the husband. 90% of the world's teenage mothers aged 16 to 19 are married. In London, women over 40 are giving birth at twice the rate of teenagers. In Mexican slang, to mother something is to wreck it. I couldn't possibly comment. Anything that has no mother is very cool, and mothers means whoops. Why would... In Korean, there are no words for brother or sister, but there are words for an older brother, a younger brother, an older or younger sister. Here's one. Having a younger brother or sister can increase your blood pressure by more than 5%. I think my children would agree. It would take 1.2 million mosquitoes, each sucking once, to completely drain the average human of blood. A midge beats its wings 62,750 times a minute. Do you know, in Scotland it's only the female midge that bites? I'm not going there either. Woodlice have 14 legs. The vampire spider is attracted to the smell of human feet. The Japanese word karishu describes the smell of old people. Moths can smell each other from 7 miles away. The faint trace of perfume left in the wake of a passing person is known as silage. In 2007, the makers of Stilton marketed Eau de Stilton, a perfume to recreate the earthy and fruity aroma of the cheese. I love Stilton, but I don't think I'd want to wear a perfume. A cheeseling is a small cheese. A glass of milk left in the Lut Desert in Iran will not go off. The heat is so intense it kills all bacteria. All Neanderthals were lactose intolerant. I happen to know that most people on the planet right now are lactose intolerant. Europeans were the first peoples to keep domesticated livestock, and we were able to drink cow's milk and other milks purely because of a genetic anomaly that occurred allowing us to drink it. But if you're of a different skin colour to a European, you know, black, brown, whatever, you are lactose intolerant because you don't have that genetic mutation. Isn't that interesting? Lee Pearson, winner of 10 Paralympic golds for dressage, is allergic to horses. Pigs suffer from anorexia. No pig I've ever seen. There were fewer than 50 restaurants in Paris before the 1789 revolution. By 1814, there were more than 3,000. This is fascinating. The first Indian restaurant in the UK opened 50 years before the first fish and chip shop. Goes to show what you think is not always so. I would have assumed fish and chip shops, which are traditionally British, were around for hundreds of years, and that an Indian restaurant came with the influx of immigrants. Turns out not so. The oldest known English cookbook is called The Form of Curry. An English person from 2013 could not understand an English person from 1300 without a translator. Yes, I think we'll call it quits there. Yeah, fascinating. An Indian restaurant opened 50 years before the first fish and chip shop. Well, I never did. That's quite interesting.
A bit soggy.
Well, today's turned out better than I expected. The sun's shining out there now. Unfortunately, as is very common this time of year, the ground is so waterlogged. There is not a great deal I can do with it. So I'm being patient, stay off the ground. I've had a potter about in the sheds. I've taken up the last of the runner bean wigwams. I've made a decision that I'm going to keep that wood, both the pallets and the planks. I'm going to cover them up from the rain, keep them for the spring, and then they will either become my new compost bins here, or, fingers crossed, a new property that we can obtain between now and then. But who knows? I'll probably be around next weekend as we move into December. The end of the year is nigh. I might actually have to start thinking about Christmas now. Anyway, thank you to all those who subscribed. Had a couple of new subscribers in the last week or two, so you are all very welcome. And all being well, I'll see you next weekend. Whatever you're doing, have a good week. Try and stay calm as we move toward the madness that is Christmas. Look after yourselves. Take care. Bye for now.